Hello, good people, and welcome back to Marion Crochets. My name is Marion, and in this video, we are going to learn how to make this ruffled bucket hat that I named Sunburst Flare Bucket Hat. Thank you so much for being here, and if you haven't, please do consider to subscribe to the channel. Welcome and feel free. These are the materials that we're going to need during this tutorial. First and foremost, you need to get your tape measure, and with this you will get your head circumference, and this is the most important measurement that we will be using during this tutorial. You need a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. I have my darning needle to weave in ends and to connect the granny squares. I have some stitch markers here. You need a pair of scissors to cut your yarn, and for the yarn that I'm using a variety of colors. I have pink blush, I have baby blue, white, orange, and yellow, and it's just because for my project I'm going to be using multicolors, but you can use a single color or two colors or whatever variety of colors that you want to use for your project. So without wasting so much time, let's get to the video. Okay, I need to mention that my yarn is acrylic yarn, and it is a very thin, the strand is very thin, so I will be doubling the strands to achieve medium weight. So if you have any DK weight, I highly recommend that you use that. So let me begin by doing a brief demonstration of the measurements. So usually the average circumference of a human head is 22 inches, 20 to 22 inches. And we are going to construct 5 of these granny squares to achieve the circumference of the head. So you will get your circumference, the head circumference. Just get your tape measure and measure your head circumference. Mine is 20, but usually it varies from 20 to 25 to 22, sorry. So if I measure my granny square, it's 4 inches, but if I give it a light stretch, it stretches to 4.5. So if I multiply this by 5, I'm getting 20 to 22 inches, which is a good number because I know the circumference that I'm going to use is 20 to 22 inches. So get that, just get the circumference of your head and divide that by 5, and then we will make such granny squares, 5 of them. Now to begin this granny square, we will begin by working this motif in the middle, which is very different from the rest of the stitches, and this is how we will go about it. You grab your yarn, your first color, and make a slip knot like that, and then we are going to chain 5 to ensure that we have a magic circle in the middle of our work. So we are going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And after chaining 5, you are going to go back to the first chain and slip stitch in there, hence making a circle. So this is going to be our magic circle where we will work all the stitches. All the stitches are going to originate from this circle that we just made right now. So I'm going to chain 2, and this chain 2 is going to act as my first double crochet. So we count this as the first double crochet, and then you yarn over, insert your hook inside this magic circle that we made, and pull up a loop. We have 3 on our hook, and then we are going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is our first double crochet, which counts as the second double crochet, and these 2 double crochets are making the first cluster. We will chain 1 to separate the clusters, and then yarn over, go back inside that magic circle, pull through. You have 2 on your hook, pull through 2 and pull through 2, make another double crochet like that. That is the next cluster, and we need 8 of these to complete our first round. So you will chain 1 and yarn over, go inside that very magic circle and make another double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook in that magic circle, make another double crochet like that, and we have just made our third cluster. And then you will chain 1, go yarn over, and then go inside that magic ring and make a double crochet and another double crochet to ensure you have another cluster. So 1 2 3 4 clusters, and then you yarn over, and then now I'm going to continue working the clusters until I have 8. Ensure to chain 1 between the clusters, and the clusters are just 2 double crochets, and then chain 1, and then also go back inside there and work the next 2 to make a cluster. So we can count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and now I'm going to make the very last one. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, go back inside there and make another double crochet. And then once you're done, you are going to chain 1 before slip stitching on top of the chain 2 that we started with right there. So we are done with our first round, and now we can pull this yarn to ensure that our work is tight. And yeah, our first round is done, and this is when we will have to cut. You will chain 1, sorry, just ensure you chain 1 to fasten your work, and then now you can cut the first color because we are moving on to the next color, and in this case mine is white. Now grab your next color, mine is white, and make a slip knot also. And you can grab any corner. You see, any chain 1 at this point is going to be workable. So you will insert your hook in any corner, or rather in any chain 1, and then you can pull up a loop, that loop like that, and then you can tighten, and you're going to chain 2. And now we're going to work granny stitches, and granny stitches, as we know, are usually clusters of 3. So this chain 2 is going to act as our first double crochet, and then we go in there and work 2 more double crochets. So 1 and 2, and since we want to make this a corner or a shell, we are going to chain 1, and then in the same chain 1 space I am going to work 3 more double crochets, 2 and 3. So this is going to be our first corner. Remember, a granny square has 4 corners, so this is going to be our first corner. And I'm going to skip to the next chain 1 space, and this is not going to be a corner, so we will just insert 3 double crochets, and you can call that a granny stitch. So we will do 3 of them right here, and then you cross over to the next chain 1 space, and at this point we are going to make it our next corner. So you yarn over and insert your hook in there, making 3 double crochets. That is the first granny stitch, and then chain 1, because this is going to be a corner. In the corners we are going to be chaining 1, and then you go back in the same chain 1 space and do 3 more double crochets to make the second granny stitch, sorry, like that. So we just made our first corner here, and the second corner is right here. So the next chain 1 space is not a corner, so we will place there just a granny stitch, a cluster of 3, 2, 3, like that, and then we cross over to the next chain 1 space, which is right here, and yarn over, insert your hook in there, and do 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And since this is going to be a corner, we are going to chain 1 and do another granny stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that marks our third corner. We have a corner, and a corner, 3 corners, and the next part is not going to be a corner, so we will just yarn over and go directly in there with 3 double crochets, 2 and 3, and then we will go to the next, this is the next one, which is going to be our last corner. We will go directly in there and do 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Remember, all the corners are getting a chain 1, the rest of them aren't. So, and then you yarn over and go back in there with 3 more double crochets, 2 and 3, like that. So this is what you have: a corner, a corner, a corner, and a corner, and between the corners we just have 1 cluster, 1 granny stitch. So granny, 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 but shell, 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 shell. And then right here we are going to do 1. So 1, 2, and 3, and then we will slip stitch on top of this chain 2 that we started with, chain 1, and cut that yarn. So to recap, what we've done so far is we have been forming corners that will establish our granny stitches, our granny squares, sorry. So we have 4 corners so far, and in between the stitches that are forming corners we have just 1 granny square. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my next color. Now my next color is this baby blue, and what I'm going to do is make a slip knot. As always, I like to start with a slip knot because it gives me assurance that my work will not unravel. So after you make this slip knot, you are going to insert it in any corner, just any corner, just pick any, or rather any space, and insert your next color like that. And then we are going to chain 2, and since this chain 2 is our first double crochet, we are going to do 2 more at that point. So 1, 2. Since it's not a corner, we can clearly see that our next stop is the corner. So once I get in there, I'm going to do 2 clusters. So one comprising of 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, that is the first cluster, and then a chain 1, and then go in with another cluster. Remember, all the corners are getting 2 clusters like that. So this is the first and this is the second. And now the difference is the corner will get a chain 1, the rest of the work is not getting that chain 1. So I go into the next and work a granny stitch comprising of a cluster of 3 stitches like that, and then I go into the next with another granny stitch. You will notice on this row we have 2 here that are in between the corners. We had 1 and now we are having 2. So on the next we are going to go into the corner and work that the first cluster, and then we chain 1 and work the next cluster, 2 and 3, like that. So each corner is getting 2 clusters, and then we continue. We work a granny stitch here, 1 2 3. We go to the next and work another granny, and we said a granny stitch comprises of 3 double crochets, like that. And then the next stop is going to be a corner, and as we said, a corner has a chain 1 in the middle. So we go to that chain 1 and work our 1 2 3, chain 1, and then 1 2 3, like that. Okay, and then we go to the next, which will just be a granny stitch, 1 2 3, and go to the net. Just ignore this yarn, we will definitely weave them in when we complete the granny square. 2 and 3, and our next stop is going to be the corner, 1 2 3, chain 1 1 2 3, and we are left with just one stop, which is here, 1 2 and 3, and then we go directly to that chain 2 on top of it and make a slip stitch, and then chain 1 and cut. So basically that's what we're doing, and I'm going to do my next color, which is yellow. I can do this offline because it's basically just the same thing that we've been doing with these 2 colors. Just the difference is it will have 3 granny stitches in between the 2 corners. After you're done with your 4th round, 1 2 3 4, this is what you should have. I've been weaving in ends, and I'm only left with this strand. Let's complete it together. So you will use your darning needle, and then you just weave in there. And then you can cut. So we are going to do the outer part, and that side we are only using the pink. I'm going to use the pink with single crochets just to give it a nice finish. Okay, again, just as we have been doing, you're going to do a slip knot and then insert this yarn at any point. I'm going to insert it here. You can start from any point actually, and then I'm going to carry that yarn along. So I'm going to chain 1 and then start from the same stitch, yarn over, and do a single crochet, insert a hook, the hook in the next stitch, yarn over, and pull through the 2. So we are going to work these single crochets in each and every stitch without skipping any, like this, and go to the next, do a single crochet. We are doing the single crochets, but now when you get to the corner, this is the corner, we are going to put 3 single crochets here. So one will represent this corner, the next one will be, one represents this side, the next one is in the corner, and then the next one is representing this row. So you'll put 3 here, and then you skip over to the next stitch. This is the stitch right here. You place a single crochet right there, and then continue putting 1 single crochet on top of the previous double crochet like this, a single crochet on top of each and every double crochet. And also when you get to the corner, we are going to place 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. This also ensures that you have a smooth corner. You see? And then I'm going to continue working single crochet in each and every stitch. Once you get to where you had started from, you are going to slip stitch on top of that chain 1 and chain 1. Now you are confident that you're done, you can cut your yarn, so we can weave in that later, but this is what you should have at the end of that row. So we are done with this granny square. You are going to do 4 more of this so that you have 5, and once you have all that, we can gather and do the next step. So now, since we have 5 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are going to construct a pentagon that will sit at the top of our head, and that is what will be here. So I'm going to do that using one color, and it's going to be the pink one, so that the pink is at the top here, and also we have the pink at the brim. So this is how to do the pentagon. When we started, we did that motif in the middle with 4 sides, but now we are going to do a motif with 5 sides. And I mean, we are going to we're going to make something like this. This is an example of a pentagon that I'm making for another hat with different colors though, but this is what we are going to make. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we will make this 10 of them before we can, because we need 5 sides. Remember when we were starting on this one, we did 8 to give us 4 sides. So to do that, just as we started the other one, we are going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you go into the first chain and do a slip knot. Okay, and then you're going to chain 2 and go inside that magic ring or magic circle that we just made and do a double crochet to marry with this one to give us the first cluster, and then you chain 1 and then go to the next. You do the next cluster, chain 1, and then work the next cluster. A cluster just comprises of 2 double crochets, and then chain 1 and work the next cluster. 1, 2, chain 1. You are going to work this until you have a total of 10 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna work 6 more to give me 10. Once you have the 10, you're going to also chain 1, and then on top of that, chain 2 that we started with, you're going to slip stitch, and we are done with the first row. I'm not going to change colors because I want the top of my hat to be this color. So I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. So after chaining 2, you realize there's the chain 1 just before the chain 2 that I made. So I'm going to yarn over and go back into this chain 1 space and do 2 more double crochets. So 1, 2. So these 2 that I just did plus this 1 are making the first cluster, and then I'm going to go directly into the next chain 1 and do a cluster of 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we are going to make our corner in this chain 1. So we're going to make a corner in this upcoming, so I'm going to enter and make the first cluster. So 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1, and still in the same, I'm going to make 3 more double crochets, 2 and 3, and then we search for the next chain 1 space. We are gonna go in there with just 1, 2, and 3. So just 1 granny stitch, I mean. And then we go into the next and form a corner. So 1, 2, 3. A corner comprises of 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then we're going to go into the next with just 1 granny stitch. 1, 2, 3. So that's a granny stitch. The next one is going to be a corner. So we will put 2 granny stitches. So 3, chain 1, and then go in with another 1, 2, and 3. So we have how many corners so far? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 2 more to go. So I am going to do my 3 double crochets in the next. Remember, this is not a corner. 3 double crochets, and then we get to the next and do a corner. A corner has 3 double crochets in the chain 1, and then another 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have the 4th corner. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, we need 5 corners, and after a corner we are going to do just a granny stitch here. 1, 2, 3. Now where we started, you remember how we started here? We are going to put there another granny stitch before we chain 1 and close the row. So I'm going to go directly into that chain 1 space and do a granny stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then chain 1 before closing. So I will close with a slip stitch on top of the chain 2, like that. So this is what we have so far, and that is the 2nd round. Now going to the 3rd round, I will show you again how we are starting the row. This part that we are starting from is our first corner. You can notice now I just added the second granny stitch. So we have a corner, a corner, a corner, a corner, and another. So 5 corners, and in between each corner there is a granny stitch. In between each corner there is a granny stitch. Okay, so I am going to chain 2, 1, 2 to start the row, and this is how we are starting the row. We will go into this chain 1 that we just did before we closed the row. That is where we are going into. This counts as the first double crochet. So you will go into this space and do the first and the second. So those plus the first chain 2, they form a granny stitch like that. That is how we start our rows, or rather our rounds. And then we go in here and make the first granny stitch, 2 and 3. And then we move to the next part, which is this space here, and put a granny stitch, 1, 2, 3. And then the next space is the chain 1 space in the middle of that corner. So we are going to yarn over and go directly into it. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. After you chain 1, we are still maintaining the corner, so we will put another granny stitch, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we will go into the next space here, the space between granny stitches, and do a granny stitch, and then go to the next space between the granny stitches and do a granny stitch, 1, 2, and 3. And then the next space is this space, the chain 1 space in the corner. So we do a corner there, and a corner comprises of 2 granny squares with a chain in the middle. So I've chained, and I'm going to go in there with another granny stitch like that. And then after doing the granny stitch, the corner, that is, we're going to do a granny stitch here. So we put 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then we move to the next and work 1, 2, and 3. And then the next part is the corner, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next part is this 1, 2, 3. The next granny square, 1 granny stitch, 2, 3. The next part is going to be the corner. Okay, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. We have just done a corner, and then we are going to go straight ahead into this 1, 2, 3. We go into the next 1, 2, 3, right? And then since we are completing and we need to complete with a corner, we are going to chain to put our granny stitch, 2, 3, and then chain 1 and then slip stitch on top of that chain 2 that we started with. Our pentagon has started to form. We have 5 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Now we are going to do the very last row just before the single crochets row, and this is how we begin our row. Chain 2, and then remember this part where we are chaining just before we slip stitch to complete. That is where we are going to go back in there and do 2 more double crochets like that. You see, this ensures that our starting point is at this point. We have just one starting point and finishing point. And then once you're done with that part, we are starting with a granny stitch and ending with a granny stitch in the same chain 1 space in the same corner. So we will go into the next and do a granny stitch, 2, 3. Go into the next space between granny stitches and do a granny stitch. Go into the space between those 2 granny stitches and do a granny stitch. And then we are going to go into this chain 1 space on the first corner and do a corner, and a corner has chain 1 space in between those granny stitches. So there's 1 granny stitch, chain 1, and the next granny stitch. Okay, and then we're going to go into the next space between granny stitches and do grannies. So we're going to go around, and I'll meet you once we get to the corner where we are starting from, and that is where we will close together and do a row of single crochets. Now when you get to this part, you are going to finish the round just as we have been finishing the rest, where you will yarn over, insert your hook in that chain 1 that you started with. You do 3 double crochets and then chain 1 and complete your row by slip stitching on top of the first chain 2 space, the first chain 2 that we did. And now you're going to chain 1 because we're doing the very last row which has single crochets, just to clean off that area. You will go back to this chain 1 space and do the first single crochet, and then continue working a single crochet on top of each and every double crochet from the previous row. So I will go here and do a single crochet, in the next one do a single crochet. So I'm going to do a single crochet all across until I get to the corner. Okay, once you get to the corner, this corner, the chain 1 space is going to get 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we continue placing a single crochet on each and every, on top of each and every double crochet from the previous row. And when we get to the corner, it's going to get 3 single crochets. So this is the corner, and we're in that chain 1 space. We are going to place 3 single crochets, and then we turn and start working on the next side, where we are placing a single crochet in each and every, on top of each and every double crochet from the previous row. So when we get to this point, we are going to give it a single crochet and then slip stitch on top of the first single crochet the first chain that we did, chain 1, and now you can don't cut the yarn, you can leave it there because we are going to use it to actually connect the sides, okay? Because the next part is we are going to be connecting these sides to the to these granny squares that we made earlier. So don't cut this yarn yet. We want to leave a long tail, at least that can join at least one side. So when you're cutting this yarn, make sure it's sizable to complete a side, at least like that. So each side is going to get a granny square, and this other one will be on this side. So don't worry, it's gonna be in shape once we fold everything together. I know right now it's looking weird, it's not sitting right. It's because it has 5 sides. So this is how your work should be appearing at the moment. Okay, yes. So we're going to use our darning needle to join the sides, and I will show you how to go about it. So you're going to weave in your darning needle like this, and then this is the method that we're going to use to join these 2 sides. You will get the middle stitch. Remember, we are doing 3 here, so you will get to the middle and then insert your needle from under and pull up and go to the side of the pentagon and get to it from under like that, and pull it up, get to the other side. So we are going stitch by stitch without skipping any. Just observe how I'm doing and do the same for your project also. And the joining, using this design, the joining comes out very, very neat, and I'm sure you will love how your work will be looking like at the end. So just make sure to grab each stitch from under and pass the needle towards the top side, and repeat this over and over until you get to the other side. And remember, we are working on the right side, yeah? So when you get here, make sure you're grabbing the mid stitch because we want everything to be uniform. So our first side is done. You're not going to cut this yarn because there's still some more joining to be done, and we are going to join to the next side and the next side. So I'm going to attach more yarn and join this side also. When threading this yarn, make sure it's long enough that it can actually join at least 2 sides, and then you can leave a tail long enough to join a side, because after this we are going to also join these sides together like this. So leave a tail long enough to join those 2 sides. as you carry forward long enough to join this side. Okay, so also on this part we are going to target the mid stitch and the mid stitch on the pentagon, right? And then you can pull up that yarn, leaving enough strand to join this side, and we can begin. So remember, we are taking each stitch but from under, like that. We are finishing on the mid stitch. It's important for uniformity. And then once you're done, you can actually fasten everything off. So the second side is done. Leave that yarn in there. We will use it to join the next side. Okay, so 2 sides in. Next, so this next we're gonna do this side, and we will use this one right here. So I'm going to join the rest of camera, and then I come back to show you how everything looks like, right? But so first, this is what you should be having. So after joining all the squares to the pentagon, this is what you should have. And now we are going to join the squares together to form the bucket shape. Now, as I had told you, always leave this hanging so that you will use it to weave in these ends and to join the squares. So this is what we're going to do. Remember how we were doing it from the other time? We will still use the same method. So now we are going down this to join these two together like this, okay? Make sure the seam is straight and you're getting each and every stitch. So this is the last piece, and we are going to weave in this end because we have no use for it anymore. So I will weave it in and cut the yarn. So this is what you should have by the end of this part, and we are going to do the same for all the 5 sides until we have a complete seam. So after all that, this is what you should have, this bucket shape. And now we are going to work on the brim, which is the ruffled part that will come under here. So I'm still going to use the pink yarn, and I'm still using the 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. I'm going to insert my hook at one of those corners and make a slip knot and pull through. So what we're going to do is we are going to work a row of double crochets, and to do this we will start by chaining 2, and then we go into the next stitch and work a double crochet, go into the next stitch and work a double crochet, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet until I get to this part. So when you get to the part where these 2 are joining up, we will place 1 double crochet on this single crochet and then cross over to the other side and place a double crochet on the very first stitch. No, that's a big gap. We will place it on the very first stitch. Just cross over to the other side, okay, and continue working the double crochets in each and every stitch. So as soon as you are at the middle, at this part where we had joined from before, you're just going to cross. Don't place a double crochet in the joining part. Just cross over to the other side and place a double crochet right there, and then continue working double crochets on top of each and every single crochet. Okay, so this is what you should be having. I want to continue working these double crochets until I get to the part where we began them from. So as soon as you're done with the row, you will insert a slip stitch on top right here, and then you chain 2, and now we are going to work the next row where we will be placing the first single crochet, double crochet here on the very first stitch. The next stitch gets 1 double crochet, the next one gets 2 double crochets, the next is going to get 1 double crochet. So what we're doing is we are working 2 double crochets followed by 1 crochet, 2 double crochets followed by 1 crochet, and then the next is going to get 2 double crochets because we had 1 from the previous. The next one is going to get 1 double crochet, and then we go to the next and give it 2 double crochets. So 1, 2, the next one will get 1. Okay, so we are doing 2, 1, 2, 1. I'm going to continue with this until I get to this part. Once we are done with that second row, we are going to chain 2 also, and then place the first double crochet on that first double crochet, and then go to the next double crochet and do 2 double crochets in there. At this point, our ruffles have started to form, and they are going to be denser on this row as we progress. So we are placing 2 double crochets in each and every stitch from the previous row. So every stitch is getting 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we are going to place 2 double crochets in each and every. We did here 2 followed by 1, 2 followed by 1, but now we're doing 2 on each and every stitch. So continue working 2 double crochets in each and every stitch until you go around your heart, and we'll meet here. We are doing 2, okay, 2 in each stitch. So far, this is how much ruffle we have, and we are going to work the next row. And for this one, we will be placing just one single crochet on top of each and every stitch from the previous row. So I will place a double crochet here, a double crochet here, and a double crochet here. We're just placing one double crochet in each and every stitch. Okay, one double crochet. So I went ahead to complete that row of one double crochet in each row, and then I did another one, which is the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth one, with just one double crochet in each row. So if you look here closely, I want to recap. We had one row of one double crochet, and then we did one double crochet and two double crochets, one double crochet. We did two double crochets in each stitch, and then at this point we did one double crochet in each stitch, and then one double crochet in each stitch. So this is how the ruffles have formed. I'm going to go ahead and weave in all the ends, and basically at this point we are done with everything. This is what you should be having at this point. And thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I know you love the ruffles, and you are pleased with your heart. Thank you for watching. If you haven't, please do subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. My name is Marion. God bless you. Bye.